You know, one of my goals going into this year is I said I wanted to get it back up to about 5 books per month. Turns out we're averaging about 6, so let's go ahead and look at May. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another TBR, this time for May of 2025. We got some nice new tasty little treats on the TBR this month that I'm very excited to talk to you guys about. Well, I can just kind of lead with that. I feel like I have been doing pretty good, maybe a pretty good reading mood lately. I think I've been really in a groove, mixing it up, use some of these shorter books, changing genres and things like that. It's really helped me get back into my groove of feeling like, okay, last year I felt like I was down to about 4 books a month. I'll go to 5 now. I'm thought to do like 6, but I'm also doing some of those shorter books, some urban fantasy and things like that, some horror books. And we're going to talk about 6 books I have planned to read in the month of May. Now, I will say very, very light spoilers. All I'm really doing here is reading the back flap of the book for you. If it's a sequel, I've kind of went through and proofread and said it's not going to ruin anything for you. So you have been warned that, hey, if you don't want to know anything like a character's name, maybe check this video out later. But I'll go ahead and let you guys know this is the order I'm planning to read them in, but that can and always will change. So first up, guys, I've been kind of making my way through 1 book per month by this author I fell in love with recently. That, of course, is ℚ𝕦𝕣𝕒𝕤𝕤, and this is Small Town Horror. I believe this is his most recent one because I could only find it on a hardcover. I don't know. I think it came out last year, but I don't know if this. I guess Senseless is his most recent one, and I just talked about last month. But anyway, before Senseless, this was his most recent one, and this is one of his most recommended. When I said how much I loved Come With Me, Blackmouth. A lot of people said, hey, I think this Small Town Horror should be the way that you should go next. So I'm very, very excited to read more ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕒𝕤𝕤. Sometimes I think I just want to say scrap my TBR and read nothing but ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕒𝕤𝕤 for the next month. But I think doing it this way is going to be favorable. But Small Town Horror comes with a lot of expectations because when I just talked about Senseless, I said, feels like that's still kind of the crime stuff. I'm wanting some more supernatural things, and that sounds like this is what this is going to be. But what is Small Town Horror about, you might ask? Well, Andrew Larimer has left his past behind. Rising up the ranks in a New York law firm with a heavily pregnant wife, he is settling into a new life far from Kingport, the town in which he grew up. But when he receives a late-night phone call from an old friend, he has no choice but to return home. Coming home means returning to his late father's house, which has seen better days. It means lying to his wife, but it also means reuniting with his friends. Eric, now the town's deputy sheriff, Dale, a real estate mogul living in the shadow of a failed career, his childhood sweetheart Tig, who never could escape town, and poor Meech, whose ravings about the curse upon the group have driven him to drugs and alcohol. Together, the 5 friends will have to confront their memories and the horror of a night years ago that changed everything for them. Because Andrew and his friends have a secret, a thing they have kept to themselves for 20 years, something no one else should know. But the past is not dead, and Kingsport is a town with secrets of its own. One dark secret, one small town horror. That is a formula that works for me every single time, guys. We did something as kids. We've got to go back and confront it as adults. That's something I'm never going to say no to. And it's something he did with Blackmouth. It seems like he's expanding it a little bit here from going from 3 friends to 5 friends. I don't know if it's going to be a big monster that we fought, the Pennywise formula, or if it's just going to be something that we did, I don't know what you did last summer style, and now we got to kind of confront it as adults, something we just decided we were never going to talk about again. But you had me at ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕒𝕤𝕤 and supernatural horror. I am all aboard in that regard. Next up, guys, this I was not planning to do so fast. I'll be honest with you. I really, really dug book 1. Did not think that I'd be starting book 2 this fast, but a lovely viewer decided to go ahead and send it to me, and I said, hey, you know what? Why not? I had such a good time with it. Let's continue with Dungeon Crawler Carl, and let's get into book 2. This is Carl's Doomsday Scenario. So these have some very, very interesting names going on. And you see Princess Donut with her little tiara there. Awesome. I love the look of these new hardcovers much more than the traditional art, I think, which is good. It's good art. I just think these look really, really cool. I dig these a lot. So thank you to a viewer who did send these over. Stephen, you are great. And you have influenced me to go ahead and move this up. Now, it doesn't mean that my TBR can be bought. I had a lot of people asking me that, but it was one of those where I did want to do it anyway. I just didn't have book 2 yet, and now I do not have an excuse to do it because book 1 was a blast. And it was very cliffhangery, so I'd like to know what happens with old Carl and Princess Donut down on level 3. So Carl's Doomsday Scenario. Now, what is this one about? Well, the ratings and the views are off the chart. The fans just can't get enough, and the dungeon gets more dangerous each day. But in a grinder designed to chew up and spit out crawlers by the millions, Carl and Princess Donut need to work harder than ever just to survive. The training levels have concluded. Now the games may truly begin. They call it the Overcity, a sprawling, once thriving metropolis devastated by a mysterious calamity. But these streets are far from abandoned. An undead circus travels the ruins. Murder prostitutes rain from the sky, and an evil spell is finally ready to reveal its dark purpose. And Carl? Well, he still has no pants. They call it Dungeon Crawler World, but for Carl and Donut, it is anything but a game. Again, vague enough, gives you a hint of the kind of the madness that this series seems like it's going to be, but you know what, that's okay. I'm all in. I had such a good time with book one, and I want to keep laughing, and hopefully so that's going to be the case here, because a lot of people told me that they think that after like I'm on book 3 or 4 now, and like 2 is still my favorite so far. So high expectations for this one, but I'm also going to continue like I did with book 1. What I think helped was having my expectations checked and not expecting the world. And I think that's why I had such a good time with it, and hopefully that will continue to be the case going forward here. So you guys won. You guys were correct about Dungeon Crawler Carl. It did click for me, and I am very, very excited to go down those stairs into the dungeon once again. This one is just kind of an out of nowhere. I had no plans to do this one this year, but I did that video recently talk about urban fantasy series that I was excited to start. And it was a recommendation that you guys kept giving me in the comments. It made me take ℕ𝕦𝕣𝕠𝕠𝕜 off of that list, and it made me put The Rivers of London on the list. And I got book number 1 here from Dahl. They were very, very awesome. They sent this to me. And I said, I think I'm going to go ahead and put that on the list for this month, because I'm super, super excited from what you guys have told me in that urban fantasy video. Very much sounds like almost like an urban fantasy version of like X-Files, I guess. You see, he's like a guy that just kind of investigates the paranormal, but he can also talk to ghosts or something like that. I don't know. We're going to kind of talk about it here. We get into what this book is about. Well, probationary constable Peter Grant dreams of being a detective in London's Metropolis Police. It's too bad his superior plans to assign him to the case progression unit, where the biggest threat he'll face is a paper cut. But Peter's prospects change in the aftermath of a puzzling murder, when he gains exclusive information from an eyewitness who happens to be a ghost. Peter's ability to speak with lingering dead brings him to the attention of Detective Chief Inspector Thomas Nightingale, who investigates crimes involving magic and other manifestations of the uncanny. Now, as a wave of brutal and bizarre murders engulfs the city, Peter is plunged into a world where gods and goddesses mingle with the mortals, and a long-dead evil is making a comeback on the rising tide of magic. Kind of gets a lot of Alex Verus feel to it. I don't know. Maybe it's just because that's the most recent. No, I did Mercy Thompson last month. It's the second most recent urban fantasy series I just started. Everybody always wants to go to Dresden Files. Anytime it's urban fantasy, it's a male character, and it's dealing with magic and stuff. But this doesn't sound quite like that. I See Dead People is kind of what it sounds like. But I don't know. I've heard really good things about it. The thing is, I've kind of heard mixed that like it's a really good pulpy kind of action story, but then other people say it's very, very funny. So I think I'm all aboard for some humor in these stories. I like when you're dealing with the absurd. Sometimes don't take it too seriously. Don't get quite like the clown honking its own nose and running away. I think actually they do that in Dresden Files one time. Did you go like beep beep? He does like Roadrunner one time. I don't know. I was just thinking about that the other day. People were saying, "Oh, well, Dresden Files is way more serious than Dungeon Crawler Carl." I was like, "Is it though?" So again, with me, I'm okay having a little fun with my urban fantasy, and hopefully that is what Rivers of London, which somehow I think is called Midnight Riot originally in the States, and they've just kind of retconned it now, and it's just called Rivers of London, as is the series. I think the series is on like book 9 or so now, and Ben Aaronovitch has said that he's going to keep writing them as long as people keep reading them. So I don't think that one has an end in sight. From what I understand, it's very procedural. You don't have to, it's not going to be real big cliffhangery. Much like Dresden Files, where each one was kind of a case. It sounds like this, but it'll have those threads that'll kind of carry over into new books. I think that's what I would expect to happen here. Now, this next one I don't have a physical copy of, so I had to do the old digital. This, of course, is going to be, regardless of how I felt about the end of his series last month, and against my better judgment, I decided to give Neil Schusterman a try again, guys, because my wife read Unwind last year, and she wants to talk to me about it. So I said, okay, that'll be one of the series I start this year because it's very short. I like Neil Schusterman's writing style. I just didn't like the decisions that he made in book 3 of Arc of a Scythe. But this sounds very messed up. And that's the words that she kept saying while she was reading it. It's very messed up. And I'm like, well, I like messed up stuff. I don't know about how messed up I like them or what kind of messed up I like them, because based off what she told me about this, it'll make you squeamish a little bit. But hey, I love grimdark, so maybe that's what we're looking at here. YA grimdark, because Neil Shusterman is an unapologetic YA writer. I've got no problems with YA, and I think that it's gotten greatly misconstrued that I feel this way. So we'll see. YA romance, well, that's a different story, but we'll talk about it as we go along here, talking about the Unwind series. This one is about after America's second Civil War, the pro-choice and pro-life armies came to an agreement. According to their Bill of Life, human life may not be terminated from the moment of conception until the age of 13, but between the ages of 13 and 18, the child may be gotten rid of by their parent through a process called unwinding. By repurposing a teen's organs and other body parts in living recipients, the unwound child's life doesn't technically end. According to society's leaders, unwinding leads to a healthier and safer community, as troublesome and unwanted teens are used for the greater good. Connor is a rebel whose unwinding was ordered by his parents. Rita, a ward of the state, has been slated for unwinding due to cost-cutting. And Lev, his parents' 10th child, has been destined for unwinding since birth as a religious tithe. As their paths intersect, they start to fight for their own destinies. But do they stand a chance of escaping their fate or proving that their lives are worth saving? Yes, I know this is going to be a very, very hot button issue, obviously, on where you stand on these things. But according to my wife, it doesn't get too axe grindy. It doesn't tell you what to think. It's very much a fictional setting, and I'm cool with that. But she hasn't continued with book 2. So it's got me wondering how she really felt about this book, because all she's really able to say is that she wants to talk to me about it. So that's why I think when I talked to the guys over at Fantasy Files, Spencer, over their Fantasy Files podcast, this was one of those he recommended to me before I read Arc of a Scythe. So it's come recommended from a couple of people now. And I think I'm going to check it out. Like I said, The Toll completely ruined my year last year. But again, I will let that go and give an author another try, especially since I thought the first book of Arc of a Scythe was terrific, just absolutely awesome. So hopefully we get more of that and less of The Toll. Next up, guys, we'll be doing our ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 read for quarter number 2. That discussion will be taking place in June, but I'll probably be reading it towards the end of May to make sure that I am prepared, because we are going on a vacation, my wife and I, for our anniversary at the beginning of June. So I'll make sure that I get this in May, so the guys aren't waiting for me when I get back. That's going to be The Stress of Her Regard by Tim Powers. This copy right here was bought for me in a Barnes & Noble where I was moderating for Christopher Rocchio. He's wanted me to read Tim Powers for so long. I think they're friends. I don't know. He's been like the Paul Heyman to Brock Lesnar for Tim Powers. And he's telling me, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, you got to read Tim Powers. So this is the book that he bought for me, so that's the one that I picked. And basically, I'm not going to lie, I feel like this is a backdoor way of me getting Philip to read a horror book, because it does sound like fringe fantasy horror. It's got several genres kind of mashed up to it. But what made me think that this will make Philip read it is because you have very, very famous poets as main characters in it. And we will talk about that now as we get into what is this one about. Well, Michael Crawford is forced to flee when he discovers his bride brutally murdered in their wedding bed. Yet it is not the revengeful townspeople he fears, but the deadly embrace of the malignant spirit that is claiming him as her bridegroom. But Crawford will not travel alone. Soon he is aided by his fellow victims, the greatest poets of his day, Lord Byron, John Keats, and Mary Shelley. Together they embark upon a desperate journey, crisscrossing Europe and battling the vampiric fiend who seeks her ultimate pleasure in their ravaged bodies and imperiled souls. So again, this wasn't the one I thought that I would start with Tim Powers. I always thought Anubis Gates was going to be the way that went. But again, Christopher's recommendation, I think that Christopher's a smart guy, and he's not going to recommend a book he thinks I'm going to dislike. And I just thought this would be perfect for ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤. I had originally picked Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, but I think the thing was we said we want to keep these books under 500 pages for ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤, and that one was like 650. It's a chunk of a book. You don't really think about it being a chunk of a book. So this is the one that I thought would work. And like I said, Philip is a big old scaredy cat. Self-professed. I'm not calling him that. He says he's a big old scaredy cat. So he hasn't read any horror, and I thought maybe this would be a good way to do it. Hey, we got vampires, but we also have, Lord Byron and John Keats. I think he'll love this. He'll like this quite a bit. So we'll see. We'll see. And I hope you guys will read along with us on that one. I got the link down below if you want to secure a copy before then, because I know it was hard to get a hold of for a little bit. I think it was out of print. I don't know if it's getting harder to get or not, but I'm glad that Christopher did pick it up for me while we were there. And lastly, guys, and this is the reason I put this last, is because if I get a little behind for the month and I'm not able to get one, this is the one that I will easily shake off because it's one of my least favorite Stephen King books of all time. Yes, I'm talking about Song of Susanna This is Dark Tower #6. This is my cover. It's part of a collection, see? So it probably looks weird to you. But I promise you, this is Song of Susanna, The Dark Tower. This is the book that's broke Dark Tower for me, really. It's top 5 fantasy series ever for me. Book 6 was a pain for me to read. And it's one of those where I'm like, is time a healer? I don't know, because I was doing my Dark Tower reread along with a group that was reading it for the first time on my Discord, and I felt like a big old wet blanket because they were all enjoying it. And I was like, Song of Susanna, nah. So I just stopped. And it's been like over a year now, so I said I was going back to it. But I do want to get out that new Stephen King tier list this year, and that requires me to read Dark Tower 6 and 7, and then I can do part 4 of that tier list. So I am going to be doing Song of Susanna. We do a Dark Tower sometime this year. And this is just a requirement. Now, I'm not going to lie, guys. Putting together a synopsis for this one with no spoilers was hardest. It was very hard. It's very, very difficult. So if this makes no sense to you, it's not supposed to, because it's book 6 of The Dark Tower. But in case you want to know what Dark Tower #6 is about, even though you haven't read any of them, or maybe you've read 5 and you're just waiting for me to continue, I'm just going to pretend that that might actually be happening. Well, the wolves have been defeated, but the quartet faces yet another catastrophe. Susanna travels through the unfound door to 1999 New York, where Roland and Eddie plan to follow. Meanwhile, Jake searches for the vacant lot where a magical rose grows. A rose that must be saved at all costs. But despite our quartet's intentions, Ka has its own plans as our heroes are tumbled into East Stoneham, Maine, where they are greeted by an old enemy of Eddie's. But it isn't just bullets that Roland and the others must brave. Soon, they will meet their maker. Guys, if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. And it's something. It's really, really something. But here's the thing. Like I said, I'm hoping time has been a healer for that because I haven't read this since it was first published. And I went from Dark Tower being like, this is everything in my life, to crossing my arms by the time book 7 came out. That's how rough book 6 was for me the first time reading it. So hopefully I can go into it with a little less expectations now. I don't know. I'm trying to think positive. I mean, the things that I don't like are still going to be things I don't like. So, but again, I'm trying to approach it with a positive attitude because that Into the Multiverse episode might be a little difficult for you if you like Song of Susanna. And there are a lot. There are a lot who didn't have to wait years between these books that do love Song of Susanna. For me, it's like, I don't mind things getting meta, but sometimes you go a little too far. And I think that Stephen went a little too far with that one. But we'll address that when I get to it, guys. But that's going to be the month of May. I'm very excited about this. Like I said, I feel like I'm in a really good reading groove right now. I'm flying through books. I'm probably going to be starting Small Town Horror way before May gets here. I'm doing this video a little early than usual because there was a death in the family, guys. I got to go out of town here. And this might be the only video this week. So if you've watched this long, thank you. And I just want to let you know that's why the TBR video is coming out a little earlier this month. And also because I'm about to finish, I've got like 60 pages left of the failures, and I'll be done with my April read. So I'll probably be starting Small Town Horror really soon thereafter. But yeah, we're going to be going out of town here, and probably won't be back till Friday. So might just get this video in the weekly update this week. So thank you for hanging with me, and I will talk to you guys when we do get back. Have a great week. I love you. Be good. Be careful. And drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you're going to read in May. And if you're going to join me for any of these, I would love to have you. So hit me in the comments, guys, and I will talk to you there.